Meeting is called to order. This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually, including that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 p.m. on Thursday, November 10th. In addition, a copy of the notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then an invocation by Councilman James Vassanella. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us take the next few moments of silence to each seek in our own way whatever sources of inspiration will grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and decisions to be for the benefit of all people at all times. Amen.
So I'm going to switch item number 5 with item number 4. We had a special election, it was during the regular election, but because it was a uncompleted council seat, the person is sworn in immediately after the election. So the winner of the 3rd Ward race was Councilman Charles Onijaka, so it is time for him to be sworn in. And fortunately, here he is. So
On time.
Just as a coincidence.
So if, Madam Clerk, if you would swear in our new and old councilman.
Okay, left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I, Charles Onijaka,
I, Charles Onyejaka,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the government established
in the United States and in this state
in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
partially,
and justly perform
perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
Ward 3 councilperson
the true council person
of the Township of Franklin,
of the Township of Franklin,
according to the best of my ability,
based on the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, all of us are elected.
What do you need?
Charles, do you have anything to say?
Yes.
Good. That's nice.
My mayor, my fellow council members, I am honored and I'm happy for my re-election. I worked very hard and with the help of my colleagues, Fode Mansara and Dauda Mansara, and my family, I was able to scale this hurdle. I congratulate you all. At the same time, I congratulate Beverly Briggs Lawson for contesting. I will work very hard for my constituency, that's in Ward 3, and Franklin in general. I thank you all. Thank you.
Charles,
Thank you, sir.
congratulations.
Thank you, my mayor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Madam Master Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Chase.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois.
Here.
Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Here.
Councilman Vasanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
We have no proclamations or commendations, so the next item is item number 7, public discussion. I will entertain a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed. We are now open for public discussion. Anyone coming to the mic, please state your name and address. 5-minute limit, can only come up once, no yielding of time. Thank you.
All right, Benjamin Guy, 35 Patton Drive. One of the things I want to bring up is just, I know we talked about it over and over again, and I've been bringing up all year, is that school board stuff, like how does the joint meetings go on with the school board for the year. Not really got a physical report on the back talks, what's been going on with the school board, but the reason why I bring this up now is because of, based on elections and what's been going on in other school districts and other school boards, with a lot of protests been happening with the kids, and actually it trickling over into the districts. Before everything gets a little bit out of hand because of the history with Somerset, the history of Somerset County itself, being one of the hubs for not just one of the like KKK activity in this area. So like I said, if people don't know the history of it, it's just like, it's one of the things that I'm real mindful of. And because I'm really trying to be an advocate for a lot of stuff that goes on with the youth, I don't want this to be spilling over into the youth as far as what goes on. They already have enough problems. So I want to actually start having that conversation openly about, what can we do to actually have better conversation with the school board and making sure that we're monitoring situations that are going on in with dealing with the kids at all. So after this election, because there's been a lot of protests in Lehigh Valley and some other places in Pennsylvania that might spill over into this area, and I'm just trying to be mindful of it. So that is one thing. The second thing is just for Mr. Vornlocker, I just want to ask, what's the update on Middlebush, or where we're at with the dropping everything as far as the concession stand and everything else. I guess you can give the update after I get out of here. The third thing is just I wanted to ask the council board if there's an introductory program that actually needs to be done for how you can unite, I guess, the police community with actually the local community. How does that actually get you introduced to the council as far as that's concerned? I already had discussions with Chief Roberts and some other things about bringing potential programs over into Somerset, but I want to see how do we get the town council support behind something that we might want to do also. So that is pretty much all the things that I wanted to discuss at this time frame. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Please come to the mic, state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Ronald Kish. I'm a former member of the police department many years ago and lived in Franklin Township for many years. Make this brief. I was just wondering, before I wind up moving to Florida, I've come in contact with many of your new members and everything else. I don't know if you have to put it in a form of a motion, but I've gone through many towns and I've seen the blue line going through the towns in support of the police department. I would be very honored, I'm concerned. I wish that we could do the same thing. I don't know if you have to take it under advisement, but if it comes to cost, I'll be more than glad to pay for the paint. You could put it, and I would suggest Demont Lane. That's pretty much it. Thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Seeing no one else come forward, I move that we close public session.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion, all in favor of closing public session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public session is closed. We are now open for council comment, and we shall start with Councilwoman Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Several things. In the last couple of weeks, I was at the opening of the Spring Hill Suites Hotel. It's a Marriott on Cedar Grove Lane. It's a beautiful addition to Franklin. I'm very happy to have that business here in Franklin. It's a beautiful hotel, and it should do very well. So I wish them great good luck, and keep the hotels coming. I also attended the pumpkin patch that the Recreation Department puts on for the children. Took my grandson, and they did a wonderful job, as always. This year it was at Middlebush Park, so they had lots of room, and the children seemed to have a wonderful time, not only with what they provided, but with the park facilities. So keep up the good work. We did have a destination marketing meeting. This is the first one for several months. We had a break over the summer and then some interruption for other issues. And basically, what the main issue that we talked about was the Rutgers Guide for this year now has a 4-page spread in it that we were able to garner as a result of this program from the state. 1 page for Middlesex County, 1 page for Somerset County, and then 1 page for our hotels and 1 page for their hotels. So the whole idea is to bring the Big Ten fans to Franklin. We are probably the closest to the stadium itself, or the sporting events itself, and we just somehow have never really gotten a lot of the business, and hopefully we're going to see an increase as a result of the kind of work that this destination marketing project has done. I also attended a meeting about a potential for a farmer's market. It's the result of the agricultural committee that we have and the young lady who's leading it. There appears to be a great deal of interest among the farmers to meet, to continue with the idea. There was a survey done, and we got an awful lot of answers to that. I think our manager said, was it over 300 answers? Yes, that's a lot of people showing interest. So we are going to move ahead with it, and it will probably start, I think we talked about June, from June to September, to coincide with the growing season of the types of things that everybody can't wait for every summer. So I think that's going to be a great addition. And on top of that, the farmers will be attending the Franklin Day Festival this next year. So we'll have that introduction for everybody, although that's the end of the whole season for everyone, but they'll still be there to talk to the farmers and see what we have in Franklin Township. We did have a meeting with the Parks Commission. This is the post-Franklin Day Festival meeting. We had no real problems with our processes. Our parking went very well. The layout worked out pretty well this year, and we may make some changes, but the big issue for me was that people got caught in traffic and were stuck for anywhere from a half hour to 40 minutes because there were so many people. We never anticipated the press of attendees that we had. So that was a problem, a good problem, but a problem nonetheless. I certainly don't want to discourage people from coming. We've talked about some improvements. One in particular should make a big difference. When people exit the lot at the parking area, they will not be able to make a left turn next year. They only can exit to the right. It may take you out of the way, but it will continue the flow of traffic, so we don't have, the police person who is in charge of the traffic doesn't have to keep stopping, so people can make a left turn. That's the main change we're going to make, but in addition, we will have an overflow lot that we will have for the event next year, which we almost had this year, but it didn't. We didn't have to put it in action this year. And the last thing I just wanted to talk about was just a reminder, and we need to be reminded about things that happen in the history of the world. November 9th and 10th were the Kristallnacht nights in Germany. That was probably the beginning of the Holocaust. That was the night when paramilitary and civilians raided Jewish homes and businesses and synagogues. 1,000 synagogues were burned. 7,000 businesses were destroyed. It's not known how many were killed, but probably 100, and thousands were carted away to concentration camps. That's the kind of hate that we can't allow in our country, so we need to be vigilant and remember the horrors that come out of intolerance. We need to open our hearts and accept all of our differences and never let this happen in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sherman. Councilman Onijaka.
I was overwhelmed the way and manner my Ward 3 came out to vote. Their voting system was overwhelming and very, very impressive, which shows a very good significance. My mayor, that's my comment so far. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I'd like to say congratulations to our 3rd Ward Councilman. He had a really nice election. We're proud of you, and we're happy to have you back with us.
Thank you.
And I knew you were going to do it. There was no doubt in my mind about that.
Yes.
You deserve that,
Yes.
all the votes that you've received. I also wanted to say we had our first trunk or treat celebration on Hamilton Street. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about that. I was part of the Hamilton Street Marketing Committee. We had probably about 400 kids over there. We ran out of candy a couple different times. We had, I'd say, over 25 cars that participated in the trunk or treat. We gave out prizes for the best cars, for the best costumes. We had a dance contest. We had a fun bus. We had the fire department have the fire truck over there. Our police department came out and showed up and supported. The Somerset County Black Caucus came out and supported. And we had the Somerset Community Action Program come out and support, as well as the Week of the People. So we never anticipated for our first event to have that many children in the neighborhood. They had a good time, and we had a DJ, and we really look forward to having that amount of fun next year. It was a success, and I'm thankful that the Township, the Hamilton Street Business District, is really putting a lot of effort into the Hamilton Street Business District and trying to rezone that area and revitalize the area and bring businesses into the area. So more events like that are what we need. And then I just need to say, as a politician, there's been so much conversation about the election on November 9th. Couldn't go to work, couldn't get on the bus, couldn't go to the grocery store, couldn't go anywhere without someone saying something about it. But I have to say that I refuse to be discouraged. And there was a great, great person that used these words, and I'm going to repeat President Kennedy. He said, "The work goes on. The course endures. The hope still lives. And the dream shall never die." And I believe that. So, you know, we all have to do our part. And we live in a democracy, and I believe democracy will prevail. People shouldn't run around being scared or discouraged. This is the great America that we live in, and we all just need to keep the dream alive. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Francois. Councilman James Vasanella.
Thank you, Mayor. So I won't go on and on, but I will say about the pumpkin patch. Not the pumpkin patch, the trunk or treat. Fact is, I actually was at the pumpkin patch that Councilwoman Sherman was talking about, and the trunk or treat, and was bouncing back between them, and they were absolutely wonderful events. Geneva Hall and all the marketing committee, and Mr. Guy was helpful.
Yes, he
a
did
gentleman
help
who
us
was in the
out a
audience,
lot.
very helpful.
Yes, he did.
Yourself, Councilwoman Francois. I gave out some candy, hopefully that was helpful. We had a good time, but it really was a grassroots community event that if we're going to be that successful, and Hamilton, let's just say the physical bricks and mortar revitalization has really just started, boy, when in the next couple of years, we're going to need a bigger parking lot, I think,
Yes.
literally. But they both happened to be on the same day. It was just a coincidence. And truth is, I think there's more than enough kids in this town and neighboring towns to enjoy both of them. But maybe next year they'll schedule on different days. Either way, they were both so successful. And just
Kids had a good time.
had a great time. Um, In line with that, some other quick things with Hamilton Street. I don't know if anybody's been down there recently. They're not the big projects that are slated to hopefully start being built soon, but the old Somerset Inn is starting to, well, that was burnt and then torn down, is now being built into, I believe, residential, mixed-use retail or stores on the first floor. There's a project on the corner of Home Street in Hamilton, another, not one of the giant projects, but a project that had got approved years and years ago, lay dormant, and now that's going. So what we all had hoped for and thought, which was once we had some projects finished and others started, that it would just be an ongoing, hopefully ongoing and going for the next several years until this street really gets done top to bottom. In line with that, not all the trees, but most of the trees will be being cut down. Unfortunately, they're just the wrong ones, old ones, dead ones, whatever. Along Hamilton, it's a joint project between our Public Works and a private contractor, and that will be taking place the next few months. The tree plan has been done and approved by the board, and I believe whatever entities township-wise, and that will be those trees will be put in the spring. So you'll see a lot of trees coming down in the next couple months. Don't fear, you're going to have brand new trees that are more appropriate for the type of, let's just say, pedestrian and traffic community, the type of things we want to do on that street, in line with our whole streetscape plan. As far as the farmer's market was mentioned. So I'm all for the farmer's market. I'm just going to ask that any conversations that have to do with the farmer's market take into consideration that for several years, up until a few years ago, we had a farmer's market on Hamilton Street. And I can't think of a better place to reestablish it if and when, hopefully it will just be when, that we put that back into play with all the farms we have in Franklin, and I don't know if they'll include surrounding communities, but we have plenty of resources as far as the farm products. I think somewhere in Hamilton would be extremely appropriate, may obviously bring people into the area, the people that are going to be living there, that will be part of the lifestyle of hopefully being able to walk to as many of your needs as possible. Plus, maybe we will bring people in from neighboring towns. But I hope any discussion involves the consideration of Hamilton Street being the location for that. And as far as the blue line brought up by Mr. Kish there, and thank you for your service to this town. I've seen stuff recently. I was thinking about putting it on the agenda for next public safety meeting. I think it's a good idea, although I have read that there were certain concerns about where you put them, and you don't want to confuse people, you don't want a safety issue, et cetera, because although most people are aware or have some understanding about that being done around the state, obviously any road markings have to be seriously looked at, as far as not confusing or creating any problem for road traffic. But perhaps just a small stretch in front of the municipal building, I don't know. And I don't want to committee it to death, as they say, but I think it probably should at least be discussed before, and that's assuming we have the support of council. Hopefully we would, but probably would be best discussed, I'm going to say, either administration or public safety. I'll let the manager decide where that should be considered. Congratulations, Charles. I made note to say that first. I don't want to forget, but thank you. And I know you've been here a short time. Now you're going to be here for a while, perhaps a long while longer. And I know sometimes we take it for granted because the first months, even the first couple of years, become a learning curve. And I know you've digested a lot and have done a lot, and I think you'll be
I appreciate
continue
that.
performing well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the only other issue I had was, to remind people that this year it's a little different with the leaves. You buy any bag you want, assuming it's the brown paper bag, biodegradable. I think most people know what they are. The township doesn't sell them anymore. You can get them anywhere you want. And I believe we'll be picking up every Monday into December. I don't know if we've started or we're starting next
Monday,
week.
Tuesday, Wednesday until the 28th of November.
Okay, we've increased. Thank you, Manager. I was not aware. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Until when? Till what date?
28th of November.
The 28th of November. So, okay, usually they go a little bit into December. They won't be going to the first week of December this year?
No.
Okay, so
It's on the website. and
make
it's until
note.
the
It's on the website. Anybody who forgets what we just mentioned. But that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Vasanella. Councilman Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, congratulations, Councilman Onanjaka, for your
Thank you, sir.
election, and wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
Now, the committee reports, the Land Use Committee will be reported on by Councilman Carl Wright. Community Foundation, we're going to reschedule that one. And the Human Relations Commission meets at the end of the month. And they have asked, actually, to have a joint meeting with the Hamilton Street Business District, as some of the commissioners want to make sure that the community needs are also taken into consideration. So they're in the process of trying to set that up with the executive director. Admin did not have a meeting, so that's where that stands. Veterans Day is tomorrow, and tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I believe we're having a
10:30.
10:30? Okay, so 10:30 tomorrow in front in the Veterans Memorial Park, we'll have our observation of Veterans Day. So please all turn out for it. And then, of course, for the interfaith community is actually providing a service. The Chinese Community Church on Cedar Grove is actually leading the effort to do some leaf raking for especially the seniors. So that is one community service that the interfaith community is offering. And secondly, the interfaith community is also looking for sites for a community cafe to feed the homeless, and yet, you know, it's an open to everybody cafe, and concept is buy one, give one, and so it's working in Phillipsburg, and we can do that here as well for the homeless, because the food bank serves about 2,000 to 3,000 families a month, but they're not able to take that food and cook it anywhere because they lost their home. So especially youth homelessness is something that we need to address and see what we can do. There is programs like Street Smart, et cetera, that are filling that need, but we need to look at it a little bit more. And I was also at the Spring Hill Suites opening with Councilwoman Raj Sherman and the mayor, and there were about 3 Diwali celebrations at 3 temples, and then we also had the Imam Hussein Day at the mosque. So a lot of diverse activities have been taking place. To Mr. Guy's point, you know, we will do whatever we have to try and help our kids and monitor and try to move that joint meeting between, we have a committee already, so the joint meeting between the school board and I think they're just getting reconstituted, so hopefully let things settle
No,
down.
we've actually met a few times.
No, the newly elected people is what I was talking about.
Oh, the new board members, yeah, they
Right.
won't, yeah.
So they have to be sworn in and all that. So after that, and the mayor can talk about that. He's on that committee.
What is he talking about?
I guess we're on track, Mr. Manager, on the concession stand on the Middle Bush.
I'll report in my report.
Okay, great. And Mr. Kish, it's a great idea. We should honor our police and support them. So we'll do whatever. But again, I, echo Mr. Vasadella's points, and we'll take that into consideration and move on it, though. So Now, beyond that, to Ms. Francois's point, yeah, we all need to have civility, and if you want to protest, do it in a polite, nonviolent, peaceful way. You can, there's need for civility, but as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see, and model the behavior, and it takes two to tango, so please, be civil and polite,
Gandhi, that's it?
and that's it. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I didn't know Gandhi said it takes two to
Be the-
tango. That was.
No, 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 no. No, it's just to be the change you want to see.
Just like getting my quotes right. Councilwoman Chanel Robinson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only committee report I have is Housing Authority is still working on budgets, and we paid some bills. The other committees that I belong to will be meeting later this month. In response to, well, first of all, congratulations, Councilman Onyanjaka, on your victory.
Thank you.
And welcome back to the team. In response to Mr. Guy's concern, we do have a crisis response team, which consists of residents of the public of Franklin Township, Board of Ed members, meaning the superintendent and/or his or her designee, the police department, as well as myself. So I will circle back with the chief based on your discussion that you had with him, and if it's something that needs to be brought forth for the remainder of the team members, we will call a meeting. And you're more than welcome to reach out and get the conversation started. And that's where we can also bridge the gap in between government and the Board of Education, as well as the residents, in addition to the mayor and other council members who are part of that committee with Board of Ed and the liaison. And if you could just put forth or send something to council what it is that you would like to see that's done as far as a plan. You said you would like some things done. If we can have some concrete or itemized list of some of those things, and we can start looking at that list. Again, as I said at the last meeting, we rely on the public to tell us and to come to us and have discussions. It's one thing, and I believe Councilwoman Sherman said it at the last meeting, it's one thing to point out the problems, but we have to work together to come up with solutions. Happy Veterans Day for tomorrow for all my fellow veterans. If you pass a veteran, know a veteran, give them a hug, shake their hand. It's not easy serving in the armed forces, being away from your loved ones and family for months on end, whether you're in wartime or peacetime. It's part of what we're called to duty to do. Some people do it without complaining, but just sacrificing their lives, their families' lives, to do what we need to do for our country. So again, happy Veterans Day to my fellow veterans. Farmers Market, Councilwoman Sherman, I believe you spoke about June of next year, about the farmers market?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay, just want to get my notes correct. And I expressed the sentiments of the council persons that have spoken before me in regards to civility, coming together, working together, continue to working together, as we have done here in Franklin Township. We have such a diverse community. We have such a diverse government body here. We each have different areas of expertise, different faiths, different ethnic backgrounds, and we embrace that here in Franklin Township. If the rest of the world could see the great things that are done here, I think we could very well be exemplary of the great things that we're doing. Not saying that we're perfect, but we're definitely light years away from other communities in the United States. So at this time, I have nothing else, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Wright. Your mic's not on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having three members of the Hamilton Business District give a report sometimes can just eat you up. So I want to thank Councilman Francois and Councilman Vassanella for that outstanding report. The recreation report will be given next week. They had a meeting last night. I did miss the Housing Authority meeting, but next meeting, we will have a report from them. Also, with Councilwoman Michelle Robinson. Huh? Yeah, I know. Love me anyway. I want to thank the township manager for this summer's cleanup. All you had to do was call him on the phone, and he took care of it. We had a lot of sites that needed boarding up because of abandonment, and he took care of it. So for that, I want to thank you. What else we have right quick? The land use report, in which Councilman Prasad, Deputy Mayor Chase, and myself, our township manager, Mr. Vornlocker, Planning Director, Mark Healy, Planning and Zoning, Tom Zelnick, who's our township engineer, and CME, which is one of our, what do you want to call them?
Consulting engineer.
Consulting engineers. We have a Catalpa update. Representatives from CME presented the engineering plans. Based on their review and the revised plan, the committee discussed the following. CME will investigate a dry system for both bathroom facilities in lieu of connecting the main one to the sewer and having porta potty johns near the cricket field. CME will provide cost estimates within a few weeks. Now I'm going to stop here because everyone's going to ask, what is a dry system?
What is that, right? So a dry system, for those of you who are familiar with the restroom facilities at Colonial Park and near where the Franklin Day Festival is held, a dry restroom facility does not use a water connection. There's a process that's used for the waste that doesn't require water and therefore wouldn't require sewer or septic, and there's a tank involved, and that's what we're exploring so that we don't have to make what is amounting to a costly connection to our sanitary sewer system in the area. So we're trying to save a little bit of money on the connections and the estimates we're hoping for this type of restroom facility will, in this particular application, be less than what the connection to the sanitary sewer system would cost. So
Thank you.
How does one wash their hands?
there's water for the washing of hands. Yes, it's for
we gotta wash
the
your hands.
toilet facilities that you, and
Got it.
you got it.
We also had the discussion on the community gardens that we want to place in the park. We have 2 alternative sites that we will discuss coming up, unless our deputy mayor has something in his report he would like to bring up about those community gardens. And we talked about some road improvements, widening of the road so that there will be no backup, and that'll be done in phase 1 of our program. Pedestrian bridge behind the diner on Eastern Avenue. An update was provided as follows. The committee reviewed plans revised per the input of the township and the state. The committee was satisfied with the revised edition design. The committee suggested input from various parties on the design, content, and of the interpretive signage, and at some future time in the future when we would like to put the signage up. The committee requested that the staff coordinate with state for proceeding forward with obtaining the necessary permits so that this could be shovel-ready project pending any final state permits necessary and funding for said project. Councilman Brother Charles, congratulations on your appointment. I think this is going to be a fun year, hopefully.
Yes,
And remember, you have 1 more left.
I know.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Sherman.
I did forget one very important announcement, if you will permit me to jump back in again.
Absolutely.
Thank you. The Franklin Youth Alliance does some wonderful things, absolutely wonderful for our students, bringing up issues with regard to drug issues, with regard to alcoholism. They run a lot of very worthwhile programs. Unfortunately, not enough parents come out for it. And so I'm going to try to talk about their programs as they come up so people become more aware of it. There is one coming up, and it's called Just Talk About It, and it has to do with suicide. This is an issue that affects, unfortunately, a lot of our young people as well as adults. So it's not just for the young people, but it will discuss warning signs associated with mental health issues. You'll learn about what is considered a crisis with the symptoms of depressions, the warning signs most often associated with suicide. If you know anyone who has had serious mental health issues or a family that's been affected by it, please invite them to attend on November 16th, Wednesday, November 16th at 7 p.m. at the Community Senior Center. And then there will be a candlelight vigil at the Middlebush Reformed Church, and that's going to be on November 18th at 7 o'clock. So these are very weighty issues, but very important issues that we not hide behind and discuss and make people aware of what could be a potentially life-threatening situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sherman. Deputy Mayor Chase.
Now, Councilman Wright has suggested I speak about the provision for a community garden at Catalpa. We really identified two possible places, one in the corner closest to South Middlebush Road, and the other behind the parking lot, which will be across from the cricket field. So I think when we really get under construction, we'll want to try hard to find people who would participate in a community garden there. Given all the townhouses that are there, I should think there'd be some people who would. It's just a matter of getting a very thorough contact out. The farmers market, yes, this came out of the Ag Committee, and we had a meeting here including one farmer, Al Pachalik, and various township people. I think we want to focus on the lot at the corner of DeMott Lane and Amwell Road for having the market. I remember the market at Hamilton Street and Franklin Boulevard, and it just sort of winked out because there were not enough vendors interested in coming there. And one thing is you want to have at least 10 or so vendors, both of produce and of specialty items, to draw enough public to make it all worthwhile. But we'll be looking into designing exactly where we would put the setup for the vendors, and we also need a substantial amount of parking for a garden. You could say, well, use the municipal lots. Well, the municipal lots tend to be full of people using the library, but we do use that area for parking for the 4th of July fireworks, so I think we could park cars coming to the farmers market on that, as well as having the vendors there. But we're pursuing this. I mean, one of the things now is to contact the township farmers and find out how many of them want to participate. I'm afraid I missed the Spring Hill Suites opening, but I did go to a groundbreaking. It was actually more than groundbreaking because they were framing up the first floor by this date at Alternatives, Inc., which is another home for single mothers, rather like Great Expectations, but as I said, they seem to get a lot less publicity. but this is on Madison Street up just north of 287, one of the most obscure corners of the township west of Elizabeth Avenue there. But they're going strong, and they already have a house and a set of apartments there, and they're building another house to be able to serve more mothers there. And congratulations to Councilman Onajaka on his, first election, not technically a re-election, but he's elected now. And I'm trying to think of anything else I went to. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Chase. As others have stated, congratulations to Councilman Onajaka.
Thank you, Mayor.
Don't get too comfortable. You got to run again next year. And I was out there helping you, so I'm not going to get too comfortable either. I'll be out there with you next year.
I know my strength.
So on a personal note that will become a public note, I work at a hospital, and they have required health care screening, and I was not happy with some of the numbers that came out, and as a result, I've lost 7 pounds, and hopefully that will change some other numbers. And so my health is likely to improve because of this mandatory screening. We have the opportunity to do that with our employees. It has to be negotiated with the union. I'm hoping both sides can see fit to that. As everyone knows, I'm always looking for that last dollar to squeeze out, and yes, we might be able to save money that way, but it's also about health, and I think it's very important. I hope both sides see the wisdom in that. To Mr. Guy, the school, the joint committee has met several times, and there's subcommittee meetings, so we're not going to discuss the details of them. What has come out is that we are using the environmental center. That's a joint venture where we are footing as much of the bill as the township can appropriately, and the school board is footing their part of the bill. So that's a shared service we're getting done there. I speak with the Board of Ed president at least once a week. I spoke to him most recently at about 2 o'clock today, and we will, within the next 3 days, be having lunch or dinner together to discuss more items, particularly they're sharing in the newsletter. We do want to get that moving because they don't have a newsletter, a cost-cutting thing, so we're trying to find out a way to do that more cheaply. The other items are things that are still under discussion. Next week, we are going to the League of Municipalities. It's a great opportunity for council members to learn about more things about government, learn about ideas that other towns are having, network with other people. I've sent a letter to the Department of Environmental Protection, trying to meet with them. We have a number of contaminated areas in town, and I'd like to move forward on those. The idea about the blue line, sir, very good idea. I have seen that other towns are doing it. I'm sure we can work out any systematic problems, and I personally would like to see that. They keep us safe, and I appreciate them. And we have an excellent police force. First, I'll talk about the local elections. I've already congratulated Charles. I'd also like to congratulate his opponent, Ms. Lawson. She ran a very respectful campaign, somewhat in contrary to what we saw in the national elections. And I have to say, in the past, the local Republican Party has put out literature that I was not particularly fond of, and the Franklin Reporter reported on the truth or lack of truth in that literature. This literature was entirely respectful. I understand she worked hard, and that's the way elections should be run. As far as the national election, no secret, I am a Democrat, and I was supporting the Democratic Party in the election. I am disappointed with the results, but Donald Trump will be our president. That is the way this country works. We have an election, and at the end, someone wins, and Donald Trump will be our president. And if we do not respect that, then everything crumbles. That is the only way that this country can continue, is if we respect that. Now, if you don't like that, or if you do like that, and want it to proceed farther, or you want to change things, or make things go forward in the wishes of Mr. Trump, either way, get involved. There are many people who once every 4 years go to the polling booth and they feel that they've done their part. And that is their right, that if that's all they wish to do, they can do that. But if you are concerned about the next 4 years, or you are eager to get the next 4 years going, then get involved. There are party-based clubs for both of the major national parties. And as it turns out, the state chairman for the Libertarian Party is about 2 miles from where we are meeting right now. That's his home. So there are many ways to get involved. You do not have to wait just to vote. On a personal note with that, my sister lives in New York City, and yesterday was driving up Fifth Avenue and had to stop because there was a protest there, and protest is great. She was stopped there for about 20 minutes as people walked by. She couldn't proceed any farther. And then she noticed people starting to hit her car, and my sister is a Democrat, as am I, and started making remarks to her. And she was quite frightened, and eventually got the attention of a police officer who helped her leave the area. Protest if you're in favor. If you're not in favor, please do that. Get involved. But we must remain civil. And those are my comments. The next item is the Township Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To answer Mr. Guy's question in reference to the concession stand at Middlebush Park, construction has begun. The foundation work is being done, and the utility work is being done. Once all of that's complete, the building will be delivered and set on the foundation, and the completion of the work will be done. So that project is well underway. A question was brought to me actually by our mayor, and I have not had a chance to address it, so I'll address it now. A question arose about the construction on the bridge on Route 518 that connects Franklin Township to Rocky Hill, and that work was stopped as a result of the Transportation Trust Fund issues. Not to get into all of that, the state had indicated that the work would begin again. It will begin. We have discussed it with the resident engineer for the Department of Transportation. That work is scheduled to begin what is the last week of November and the first week of December. That's November 28th. The question that was posed to our mayor was, will they be able to do that work given that we're approaching winter? And the answer is yes. There's not a reason for any additional delay due to weather concerns. So that is moving forward. When we were here last for our last council meeting, we had a discussion about the water emergency that was issued by the Department of Environmental Protection. That was also a question that was raised to me. We had a whopping 0.8 inches of rain since our last council meeting, and I just confirmed that online before I said it. And while that is certainly not a lot of rain, the DEP has not issued any additional notices at this particular time. Our ordinance does permit me, as the township manager, to institute emergency provisions from the ordinance in between council meetings should the need arise. The township engineer and I will continue to monitor it. And as some have mentioned, we will have a Veterans Day memorial service at 10:30 in the front of our municipal building tomorrow. I'd like to thank Bob LaCourte, a Franklin Township citizen who takes it upon himself every year to get involved in those particular events, Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And he once again, with the assistance of the Canal Walk Men's Veterans Organization, they will be participating as well. And I would just like to thank Councilwoman Robinson and Mayor Kramer for your service in advance of Veterans Day tomorrow. So thank you very much. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. The next item is council discussion item about the schedule for next year. And if everyone looks in their packets, there is a calendar that you can look at. It looks like, to me, as I peruse this quickly, there will be one meeting moved, and that's in November, I assume to not overlap with the League of Municipalities, so that would be the second Monday of November instead of the second Tuesday of November for the first meeting. The others seem to be in place. Again, remembering, was there another one? Oh, all right, so I'll get to that. The remembering, of course, that in July, August, and December, there's only, we only meet on the second Tuesday, not the fourth Tuesday. And then we have to decide on when our reorganization meeting will be, and we have a choice provided to us by the clerk as either the first of the year, which is a Sunday, or that Tuesday, which is the third of the year. We're required to do it by what, the 7th? Okay. So I suppose we could take, well, first on the general calendar, is there anyone who has any issues with the general calendar meeting days? Seeing none, do we have to vote on that?
You'll get a resolution on the next meeting.
Okay. And
So-
then, do we have someone who would prefer on January 1st or January 3rd for our reorganization?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
given that we don't have any swearing-ins, there's really no need to have a reorganization on January 1st this year.
I was hoping you would say that.
Okay. And then the other thing I was going to say, if we have to have a council meeting by the 7th, why don't we just have our council meeting on the 3rd and make it a reorganization meeting and skip the 10th?
That's fine with me.
That is
Do
fine
both.
with,
Okay.
I'm making a motion.
I second the
do we
motion.
need a motion now, or we'll just do that in a
Or we can
resolution?
just
It'll
talk
all be
about it.
part of the resolution
Part of
at the
resolution.
next meeting.
Does
All right.
So you'll,
Does anyone disagree with that idea?
Yeah, I think this makes sense.
that's great.
So we would have a reorganization meeting on January 3rd and also a council meeting on January 3rd and skip January 10th altogether. Because we're required to have a meeting by January 7th.
So it'll be a little bit of a long meeting on January 3rd, because we'll make appointments and have our.
We'll make appointments.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
but your appointments
So-
have been good.
Mayor?
You okay?
Mayor?
Yes, sir. Councilman Bassett.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up, except I was going to ask if we could maybe pick the Board of Health meeting, because I know we always seem to, that kind of sneaks up on us, and, I mean, it could always be changed, of course, if we had to, but I remember.
Excellent idea.
Okay. So I think in the past that usually you advise it to be done in May or June because it has to be done.
We usually try to do it before the summer, so, because it's
Right.
Usually do it in the first meeting in June.
first
So
meeting.
the first meeting, I think then the first meeting in June would be fine. I think that's when we did it last year, and we did it at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And then, of course, any other need for a special meeting or hearing, we'll do as needed and just vote on, discuss and vote on a meeting.
Okay.
Is that-
And Mr. Manager, when do we generally decide when to have the budget meetings?
They're on there.
We're on here.
They're on there, I missed that.
We're ahead of the game this year, Mr. Mayor.
Wow, I
They're in
missed that.
February, the
So
first.
are we formally scheduling two, I'm sorry, in line with what the mayor was asking about, are we formally scheduling two with the third optional?
Well, we schedule all three, and then if you don't need the
Oh,
third
then you
one, we
cancel
cancel it.
okay.
I'm sorry, which dates are they?
First Monday,
This
it's first Tuesday, third.
7th,
The 7th, 13th, and the 21st is the optional if we need a third.
17th, 13th, and 21st. Yeah. Excellent.
And there's no particular, I don't believe there's any meetings, redevelopment, Hamilton, or anything on the 13th, correct? They're all the first and the third?
There won't be, because we're getting our schedule done first.
Okay, well, just as a courtesy, though, I know Hamilton meets the first Monday, and Mr. Mayor, were there any that you were
This is
aware
how
of?
we did it this year.
Oh, no, I'm good with it.
The
I
last couple
just-
years, we've done it's the same budget schedule, it's the same
It's good for me.
Tuesday, Monday, and
Anne Marie, what's
Tuesday.
the purple?
Good for me.
What are all the colors?
Purple, Passover, Rosh Hashanah, Ramadan, and
They're the holidays?
Yom Kippur.
And the oranges, they're all holidays?
The
Anything
orange
that's-
ones are holidays that the township is closed for.
Okay. Orange, purple, I think that's it. The green for the,
Green's the league.
is
Any
clear.
other issues we can discuss calendar keys later?
I didn't get it.
Okay, moving on.
Would be
Approval of the minutes of the Township Council Work Session Regular Meeting, October 25th, 2016, are hereby presented for approval by the Township Council. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in, seconded. Any corrections or comments?
I have one question.
Yes,
It
sir.
lists Mayor Kramer as being absent in the roll call, although he apparently was
He
conducting
was
the
there.
meeting.
That's cut and paste. I'll put him back in.
My mind wandered, and so she put me, it's not.
Absent.
That happens.
If you went this way.
Moved and seconded,
President's Day.
and now discuss. Madam Clerk, please call the roll after
Should be the 7th, yeah.
Councilman Vassanilla's
I
question.
just highlighted the wrong box.
So that's purple.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Chase.
Yes,
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Sure.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Thank you. Approval of the warrants. Warrants in the amount of $10,522,728.68 on November 10th, 2016 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Do we have a motion to pay our bills?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Deputy Mayor Chase.
yes,
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
We have no second readings. We do have a first reading, item number 14, ordinance on introduction and first reading. This is essentially to announce to the public that we're going to have, be voting on an ordinance in a couple of weeks. And it's an ordinance amending the municipal code of the Township of Franklin, Somerset County, New Jersey, and more particularly Chapter 236 Municipal Service Schedule A, Countryside at Somerset and Somerset Glen condominium. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2016, at 7 o'clock at the municipal building. Do I have a motion?
Motion for introduction.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Essentially, this ordinance change is to add more of the streets that the township will be plowing. There's been some streets that were being plowed by associations, and they were not being plowed adequately, so the township will take over the plowing. The associations were doing it at their own expense, and we were reimbursing them some. They will probably save money doing this, and it'll cost us roughly the same because we pay them at the rate we get. And this, particularly on Julie Court and Deborah, where the streets did not get paved, I'm not going to go into the did not get plowed. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but this will help prevent that in the future. Too complicated to explain. So, any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Deputy Mayor Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
We now have the consent agenda. Items A through J, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion? Anyone wish to remove an item or discuss an item? Hearing none. Madam Clerk.
Deputy Mayor Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
There is no other business before the council, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Please be well, Franklin.